Welcome to a Tuesday edition live here, the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and presented by Go Chevrolet from the UDL here on this Tuesday morning. We will talk to Wilson Alexander from The Advocate coming up an hour from now. We'll talk to Alexander what it's like to cover the LSU football team right now, what he anticipates here on this bye week, what he learned yesterday in the Ed Orgeron press conference, and we'll also get some baseball notes from him as Wilson is the beat guy on LSU baseball as Mikey's here. We'll talk a little bit about Jay Johnson. 7:30 this morning, Frank Wilson from McNeese will stop in. Big win for the Pokes over the weekend as they take care of Incarnate Word. No, Coach Wilson will be riding high, talking about that one at 7:30 this morning. Also, we will talk a little bit about last night, Monday Night Football. Saints able to prevail, 3-point win versus Seattle in a ugly football game in ugly climate. Just a bad backdrop of Monday Night Football last night. Soaking. Is there anything worse than playing sports in the steady downpour?
That's the worst. It's the worst.
Unless you're like, 10 or 12 years old and you're playing
in the
backyard. I don't know. There's times you could get into it, but as a grown man, they're 30 years old out there, 35. You don't want to be that wet.
Anytime you have to throw a football, like when actually throwing the football matters, when you're 9, they can't throw the football anyway.
The worst, I would say the worst climate to play in my opinion, is football. Probably baseball, too. Cold.
Oh, it's worse.
Freezing cold.
Freezing. Well, at least football,
you're moving.
You have the pads on, you're moving, and, you can sweat. Baseball, bro,
you're standing out there
in the outfield, and usually it's windy, and you're sitting there, you're like, oh, my God. Then you have to go hit. So then you sit in the dugout because there's heaters, and you get ready, and you're like, okay, I got to go on deck.
That is
By
the
time
worst.
you get to the hit, you're freezing again. So guys don't even go on deck at that point. They just get ready in the dugout.
Opening weekend, in Chicago, for you when you were in Detroit.
Dude,
you've seen sites come out of Detroit where it's snowing on opening weekend.
We got, in 2018, our average temperature, the first month of the season, average temperature was 30 degrees.
Bro, what was your batting average?
Not very good.
0.3? 30?
I was 4 for 30. 4 for 30 to start the season.
What do y'all want me to do with this weather,
from Louisiana.
It sucks, dude. I'm not good. You can ask Allie's like, God, thank God. You need to sign somewhere warm because you suck in the cold weather. I'm like, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the support. I already know that.
I know I suck.
And she's like, I don't want to go to the game.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, you just have to sit in the stands.
Last night had that feel to it. Is it just the steady down? We saw it on Sunday night with San Francisco and what they were dealing with and the weather that was going on out in that part of the country.
The
and then
cyclone.
Just right up north from San Francisco and Seattle. It looked very similar last night, but the Saints are able to prevail. They get the 3-point victory, 13-10. They make the plays when they have to make the plays. I watched the Manning cast. We'll talk all about that. Everybody, I think, watch the Manning cast. We'll talk about it coming up here. Remember, we're driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. Go has a couple of locations, including Go Express Auto Sales here in the Baton Rouge area. That is used cars that you can find here in the capital city. Brand new cars out in Laplace and a brand new addition to the Go Chevrolet family up in Tennessee. So check them out online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. All of our water, Daily True Blue water, our coffee is Majestic Coffee. Remember, all of our guests via the phone line are compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. That is Real Doctors, Real Solutions with Jason Ramazan and Charles Harvey, as those guys bring you our phone line every day. And we'll talk to Wilson Alexander at 8 a.m. and Frank Wilson. Let's start last night with Monday Night Football. 13-10, rain-soaked game. DK Metcalf versus Marshawn Lattimore was pretty testy all night. But Winston and Kamara hook up for a touchdown. Winston fumbles the snap, picks it up, hits Kamara in some open space. He's able to get into the end zone, and that's the difference. 13-10. Saints win last night. It was an ugly one, but you take them how you get them.
No doubt. Demario Davis game. That guy was an absolute stud. He made a tackle with the other team's offensive guard. Brought him in the back, made him tackle the running back. He was flying. You could tell the chippiness of the game and apparently the Seahawks were chirping and doing stuff after the whistle. They were trying to instigate a bunch of stuff, and Demario Davis kind of took that to heart. He didn't like that at all. And you could tell, he said it after the post game when Jameis was there, and he said it again in his press conference after the game. So, he showed up big time. I think he had 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. This guy he was an animal.
Alvin Kamara last night. You mentioned Demario Davis. It was the Saints' real superstars that bailed him out last night, or at least made the plays. Kamara made a little bit of history last night as he became the fastest player in NFL history to reach 3,000 career rushing yards and 3,000 career receiving yards. He did that in his 66th game. The previous record was held by Roger Craig, former San Francisco 49ers running back. He was the running back with Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Joe Montana, those teams of the 80s in San Francisco. It took Craig 70 games to get there. Kamara does it in 66 games, and he's able to accomplish that last night. He scores last night. He also affects the game, both receiving and running the football. And as we said, he made a little bit of history on the way. But I thought Kamara last night was fantastic. He's so good. I mean, Tom Brady was on the Manning cast while Kamara made a couple of plays, and he was talking about just I think they threw kind of a screen route to him, and he got out into the open. He said, just get this guy the ball. He's so good. Talked about just kind of the pressure that he puts on NFL defense.
Just so smooth. Like, and people look at his workouts in the offseason, like everything's balanced and so outrageous. Like, why would you do stuff? Because you watch him play on the field, like all of that translates to the field. Like he's always in complete and total control of his body. He knows exactly what he's trying to do. I mean, look, there's a 3rd and 1, I think, and linebacker came in unblocked. Bobby Wagner, like an All-Pro, came in unblocked, gets him around the head, and any other running back would have gone down on the ground.
I agree.
Somehow kept his balance and falls forward for the 1 yard.
That was it looked like he decapitated him. I mean, when he came in there, he snagged his neck and ripped it down. And I mean, Kamara, in his, like for how slippery he is, I think his nickname is Water. They call him Water inside of the
Bruce Lee.
because you can't really hit him.
And he never looks like he's going full speed. No. He's always kind of gliding out there, and then
it almost looks like he douses himself in Vaseline before the game. Like, hey, you're not gonna be able to grab me.
I mean, it's just and the way his body is able to move, and like I agree, he just never looks like he's moving at full speed, but he's running away from people.
Yep.
And he never gets hit hard.
Never gets hit hard.
I don't want to say this. Knock on wood.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember his rookie year in Dallas.
He got popped.
Jalen on the sideline. He got him. I mean, he knocked him out, but he came back in. He came back in the game.
And is he the coolest looking player in the NFL head to toe?
Has to be. I think
when they getting away with the visor.
When they go all whites, and he wears the gold visor and the gold cleats, to me is the cleanest look in the NFL. Sick. He wears the tape under his arms. I mean, he's got the swag. His look is. And I love the fact that he pays the fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I'll wear my visor. Like the Christmas cleats will always go down as some of my favorites.
It was pouring down rain, nighttime, dark tinted visor.
Dark tinted visor.
Still making plays.
And I'm going to catch the ball 10 times.
Still making plays.
You need some windshield wipers on those.
And he's rocking the Chanel chain all game. Like, that thing gets ripped off every game, doesn't care. They just send him a new one.
20 carries last night for 51 yards for Kamara. He also had 10 grabs for 128 as he was the leading receiver for New Orleans with a score. Jameis Winston finished the night with 222 yards and a touchdown. That's a tough night to play quarterback, man.
2 big drops too.
Yes.
I mean, Tre'Quan Smith was, I don't know where he was at, dude. He's been in the league. He's been on the team in that system for 4 or 5 years now. And last night, he was doing things that rookie receivers do. Like, he wasn't running his right routes. He wasn't in the right scheme. He stopped his route on the post.
He stopped his route on the crosser one time on a big 3rd down. And Winston, you can see him mouthing to the sideline after the play. He's like, what is he doing when he stops on that?
Yeah.
And,
I mean, he looked totally disinterested last night.
He did not look like he was in it.
And then he gets into the screaming match with Jameis, and Jameis is barking, and Tre'Quan said something. Jameis goes,
whoa. His eyes like, what was that? I wasn't expecting you to come back at me like that.
Yeah, he said something off the wall, and he was like, all right, well, fuck it, let him go. Yeah. It was wild. Jameis was like, all right. And then but to Jameis's credit,
he went right back to him.
Goes right back to him to get a couple yards.
I think Sean has said some, gotten a heated argument with Tre'Quan too, is what I heard. I didn't see it, but I think the Twitter people were talking about it.
Dissecting it.
Well, I saw Peyton and Winston talking to Smith when he came off the field on that first 3rd down, and Peyton looked like he was about to get in his ass.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, very much wondering, what are you doing? What are you looking at out there? Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by City Cafe. City Cafe on O'Neill and George O'Neill. They're hiring over there, so stop it and see Squeaky, Cody Miranda, and the crew. At all positions they're hiring, whether it's hostess, wait staff, managerial, bartenders, kitchen staff. Get in touch with City Cafe, citycafebr.net. Daily lunch specials over there on O'Neill and George O'Neill. And you can check out the brunch that cranks up at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. The Manning broadcast last night was gold. I forgot how much I missed it, really, it being away. It was almost like this felt like the first Monday night game I've watched in 3 weeks because I hadn't really been around. Yeah, I hadn't been around the Mannings and watching it. Star power again last night.
They should have known they were playing with fire with
Marshawn.
That's
why they did it. They knew it.
They
knew it.
Marshawn
Lynch got 3 shots of Henny before this. Love that.
You could see they were tight. You know what I mean? Peyton Manning, more than Eli, was like, we got to watch this guy. This could go off the rails pretty quick. I think we got an F-bomb from Marshawn.
Into the first quarter.
Yeah, F-bomb,
got a shit.
A bunch of shits.
Yeah, got a bunch of shits. And that was his first. He was the first guest.
Yeah,
you know, that's a hell of a leadoff.
And yeah, Tom's the goat. He's the best. I mean, just listening to it. How funny is it, or how awesome is it listening to Tom Brady talk about? He's like, I've been watching. He was analyzing the game. He goes, I've been watching film on this guy. Just started watching film, and he knew everything about everybody. There's
third round pick, left-handed, graduated from Stanford.
They traded up for him.
Oh
this
my
guy.
God.
I'm like, oh my God, this guy. Not only does he know, he doesn't feel like he knows everything about him.
Brady is fun in that environment, man. I wonder what his life after football is going to be, but I would love to see him sit down and talk football, because by the time he gets to the media part of his life, it's probably going to look a lot like the Manning cast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not going to be as much buttoned up with coat and tie, and I doubt Tom Brady, who's turned into a backwards hat guy.
Yeah, I love that.
Watch out, Colin.
Yeah, which I love.
Colin Cowherd doesn't like that.
Cowherd, and he's a huge Brady guy. Yeah. So I mean, that's a hell of a conundrum for Cowherd.
And you can't ignore it. He's going to have to address it.
Yeah. I mean, he's not just doing it on the sideline. He's doing it like out in public.
Yeah.
I mean, like.
Tampa Tom is way cooler than New England Tom.
It's retired Tom. Once you go down to
Bogus, he was even kind of talking about it last night. They asked him about the cold weather games. He was like, I mean, I can't. He's like, I'm already looking up the weather reports in Washington in a couple of weeks, because I mean, I'm loathing playing in cold weather anymore. I mean, this is a guy that was coming from New England, right? Where I mean, that was a home field advantage for them. But the Manning cast is awesome, bro. What'd you think of Breeze?
I think it was good. I think Peyton put him in a pickle, man. I mean, Peyton, that first question about the offense and if it looks the same, like he put him in.
Did you think he was meaning to put him in a space?
No,
I don't think he was.
He didn't
I
mean
think
to.
he was like trying to be like.
He realized
how much.
He realized that during Drew's answer, he's like, man, I put him in a bad spot. And so thankfully there's a break in the game. There's a timeout, and he was like, hey, think about the answer, and they come back and they never even revisited it. You know, like they didn't talk about it again. But I mean, I thought he was good. I thought I was actually happy he didn't try to be like overly funny or do anything. You know what I mean? He didn't try to do too much. He was just talking the game. It's kind of like it was just whatever. You did good. He just didn't do anything crazy.
Yeah. Marshawn Lynch, Tom Brady, Sue Bird, and Drew Brees were the 4 guests last night on the Manning cast. I still think that Eli's the star. For whatever reason, I still think that Eli kind of in his own way. You can tell he's very much himself.
Yep.
He's very relaxed. His one-liners are incredible. I mean, some of them you can't catch unless you're paying attention to him, because there is a lot of talking over people, and you can tell, like, I mean, even when you ask questions, somebody's talking, and even Brady for a minute was kind of like, let me just step back and let y'all get all this out, then we can kind of find our lanes.
Because they're always trying to direct it back to the guest. They want to get to Tom, but then they're like, it's a tough thing that they're trying to do, all being in separate cities and separate rooms.
It is,
because you get lags and stuff.
And they step on each other if they really want to do it. And it doesn't bother me at all, because I know what they're going for, and it's a casual watch. So I don't want it to be that tight. But if they wanted to like really do it, if it gets behind a paywall or something, they're gonna have to put them in the same room and do stuff like that, to where you can't just have people stepping on each other, and then you're not even watching the game anymore. Like they miss chunk plays. So they can tighten that thing up, but it's great that they're always trying to get back to Tom, and then you have Peyton in the Eli jersey, and Eli will just take a step back and let Peyton kind of run the ship.
Man, how fun was it growing up with them two? Probably
unreal, bro.
And Cooper, all 3 of those guys. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
with New Orleans blood running through them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like they're funny.
You
dude.
get them
All
off
of
camera,
them.
and they're
Yeah.
very
Cutting up.
New Orleanian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Eli was like, he was talking about that. He's like, live with the family. They were talking about playing football in New Orleans, where he's like, oh, I guess you put me back at all-time center like you always do. Eli, get out of here.
He just knows his role so well,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and he owns it. You know what I mean? And like, turns out like he's sitting there. He beat Brady in
Yeah,
2
that
Super
was
Bowls.
awesome.
You know what I mean?
That was a great conversation.
It was.
Yeah, Tom, I loved our games against each other.
Yeah. And you can even see Brady. You know, he's like, I mean, this son of a bitch. When the silver helmet showed up, he just played different. It's a great way to watch games, in my opinion. I mean, it's a fantastic way to watch sports, because another thing that jumps off is the way that Peyton Manning loves football.
Yeah.
I mean, like the way he watches games still. I mean, he's like, that's a terrible timeout.
Right, he gets so
You know
mad.
what I mean? Like,
he gets so mad at bad
pissed
football.
off.
You got to
Yeah.
call a time.
Yeah, he's
Dude,
like, we can't be doing this right now. How do you miss that block right there? You're like, bro, Peyton, who cares?
I will say this. Every time Jameis rolled out, got out the pocket, and he was holding the ball, you could see on Peyton's face, like, throw it away. Like, oh my God,
damn it,
don't throw
Donald.
it. Yeah, he's cringing. He's hoping that he didn't do something stupid.
Poor Adam Vinatieri and Mike Vanderjack, because every time a kicker missed a field goal, Peyton Manning's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, when he
It's
got
like,
missed a
just
field goal.
50-yarder, and he's like, I mean, you
no
got
way he
to
missed that one. No way he missed it.
No sympathy for him at all.
I love that, man. So Manning cast was back last night. It was probably the most popular thing of the game. Game was terrible, but the Saints win 13-10, and that's all that matters, really, as the Saints now improved to 4-2 on the season. And a quick turnaround here is they'll be back in the Dome Sunday. That'll be a 3:25 start on Halloween Sunday versus Brady and the Bucks. And Brady and the Bucks right now are flying high, 6-1 overall, coming off of a big, enormous win versus Chicago on Sunday as they downed the Bears 38-3. In Soldier Field, or excuse me, they were in Tampa Bay on Sunday. So Brady and the Bucks turn around and get to New Orleans on Sunday. It'll be I imagine that the Dome will be rocking on a Sunday afternoon, Halloween. Everybody's going to be dressed up with Brady in town. Kelly and I have tickets, and we're really looking forward to going to this one, because this is kind of a mid-season point for the Saints, where you're either going to find out if they're a true contender or they're not, in my opinion.
You play them tough and you win that game. I mean, you win that game, you're in the driver's seat. You're the number one team in the division right now. You know, both teams would have 2 losses, and you have the head-to-head so far against Tampa. And yeah, I think it's gonna. I think more than anything, it's gonna let us know where our offense is.
Yeah.
You know, like
I expect Mike Thomas to be back.
I hope we need him, man.
Bad.
God, we need him.
Bad.
Our
They need
receivers
wide receiver play.
And, I mean, and we had Harris has been great, but he's hurt. Like, we don't have anybody. We just don't. We have nobody that can get open underneath, and we have nobody that can get open over the top. So
Nobody can separate.
No.
You know what I mean? Nobody can separate, down the field. And I think that was something that even Breeze later in, his Saints career, that was something that they were struggling with. I mean, remember that Mike Thomas career year? I mean, it was the drop-off in receptions was crazy. How far, and it was like Kamara was the second option.
Well, and that happened again last night. Whenever the Seahawks started to double Kamara, because we're not going to let this guy beat us, because he was the only one doing anything on offense, whether it was catching 10 passes, I believe it was, on offense, and then running the ball a little bit. Like, that's obviously what he's going to do. But when it got to crunch time, Seattle was like, we're going to bracket Kamara, who was lined up on the outside, and then try to make the Saints beat them with everyone else, and they really couldn't do it. There was nobody that got open.
Nobody got open.
Jeff Marson points out a good point. Saints, 5 of last 6 games have been on the road, and they're 4-2 with a long list of injuries. That is a testament to Sean Payton, and his greatness. I agree. I mean, it is a really well-coached team when you look at New Orleans. I mean, for everything that they have had to turn over, for all the adversity of guys that they're missing, all the people that are not active right now, and they're still getting the type of production and the record where they sit. I think, Jeff, that's a really good point in pointing out that, they've gone through a ton of adversity here early in the season, and they still sit in a really good spot in the NFC South with a 4-2 record. That's a really good point. I think if you'd have painted the scenario for the New Orleans Saints and the fan base, 7 weeks ago, and say, hey, look, 7 weeks from now you'll be 4-2, but you haven't played with Mike Thomas yet. You haven't seen David Onyemata. You've been without Will Lutz. You've had limited time with key guys like Teron Armstead and Quan Alexander. But once you get all those guys back, it'll be right around the time that you play Brady and the Bucs. I think everybody would say, hey, man, sign me up.
I mean, defense is going to get better. Anyamata is going to be back next week. Saw a really, really cool stat to your road game point. Since 2008, the Saints have played 28 road games. How many do you think they've won?
Since 2008?
Yeah.
28 road games?
No, I mean 2018. I'm sorry, 2018.
2018, 28 road games. They've won, I would say, 20.
23.
Wow.
They're 23 and 5 in those last 28 road games. That's a testament to coaching right there.
That is a good, well-run, well-coached organization.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Remember, it used to be Saints can't win on the road. They're only a dome team. They can only win at home.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's opposite. They lose more at home than they do on the road.
How the bleep did this team lose to the New York Giants?
Man.
Like, I mean, was it just the kicker? I mean, they couldn't make a field goal that day.
We also couldn't score touchdowns either.
Yeah.
I mean, that game should have been we had opportunity to
put them away,
and we just couldn't get in the end zone. And then our kicker missed a bunch of field goals.
And that's what happens whenever, and especially with Sean Payton. I mean, the kicker, but he likes to have a kicker in his back pocket. You saw the guy that kicked last night. He went from. I'm interested to check his followers. I found him on Twitter. He had like 365 followers before last night. I'm sure that thing's about to explode. I am. But I was just saying that Sean Payton loves to have like a Will Lutz, or even when Garrett Hartley was here, he needs that kicker where he can cross the 50 because it lets him be a little more aggressive on his play call, and he just wants to get points, and that's what happened against the Giants. He trotted him out there too many times, and he should have been going for it. So that's how you let teams hang around in the NFL. But
what a debut by that guy!
What a debut for that guy!
Never played.
He's a rookie, Brian Johnson.
That was his first game ever.
First game ever.
In the rain in Seattle.
Good for him.
And Peyton Manning, when they lined up to kick it, and then LSU, I guess for a second, Al Woods jumped off sides on 4th and 5.
Okay, I didn't know Al Woods was still playing.
What a career.
He's my age.
What a career.
I mean, he's my age. Your age?
I think he's I played against him in high school. I was a freshman. I think he was a sophomore or junior. But he was
maybe my age. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean he was an animal.
He's huge.
But for him to jump off sides and Peyton goes
straight off.
Thank God that kicker. He probably didn't want to be in that spot at all. Because that would have been like 3 minutes left, kick it to win, give the ball back. Woof.
That was a bad penalty by them.
From Virginia Tech, rookie Brian Johnson. Last night, I mean, what a debut for Johnson. As he was able to get, kind of be the deciding factor in last night's win, 13-10. Last thing on this Saints game last night, Marshawn Lattimore and DK Metcalf.
Dude.
I mean, Metcalf, it feels like Mikey and me sitting on this couch in this chair when we were watching the video. I mean, it almost looks like a mini-me edition.
He is enormous.
I mean, he was swallowing Lattimore, like standing over him. I mean, it looked like a high school player versus like an elementary school player. I mean, it was just crazy to see two pros next to each other and how much bigger one is.
I mean,
and the bigger one is the offensive guy.
Yeah. Lattimore's an alien, bro. He doesn't. That's not. They don't make him like that, you know. And
Jesus.
outside of the offensive pass interference, 84-yard touchdown catch that he had, I mean, he had one target. That was the only ball they threw. Or that was the only catch he had, I think.
Well, that's what's crazy is Lattimore was able to. I know it was Geno Smith playing quarterback, but Lattimore being able to pretty much lock him down aside from one play. When you look at the
one play was an interference call.
The juxtaposition between the two is wild. That Lattimore at that size difference can still lock him down.
DK was like. He was getting in the last little shove, and then Lattimore would retaliate, and he'd get caught every time. DK was such an instigator last night, even though he was twice the size of him. And that pissed me off a little bit.
That standing shove that DK can give you, where he just kind of rears back and shove. I mean, that is some
then Lattimore
power.
went back, and I don't think DK moved.
He didn't.
DK had to flop to get the penalty.
Budge back, and I mean, like Lattimore kind of gave him 1-2 and popped him. You know what I mean? He was like.
That's nothing.
They just looked at the refs like, "What is he doing?"
But to see him open it up and run like he was at the sideline is just, I mean, it's a freaky athlete.
That's scary, man.
That is a freaky athlete in Metcalf. But Lattimore and the Saints win the game last night. They're back at home versus the Bucs this Sunday, like we have said. So stick around. We are expected to talk to Frank Wilson here in a couple of minutes. And daily, we are brought to you by A-Bears Specialty Meats. Remember, A-Bears located over there on Highway 73 in the Dutchtown Shopping Center. Stop in, and if you're looking for specialty meats, or if you just need to pick up dinner, whether it's a deboned stuffed chicken, whether it is some boudin, whether it is some ground patties from the freezer, with great selections there, get in touch with A-Bears. A-Bears Specialty Meats, Highway 73, Dutchtown Shopping Center. When we come back, we'll have Frank Wilson from McNeese here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Mikey Motuk in with us, just like he is every day here now during the off season for Motuk, co-hosting with us. Nice win for Frank Wilson and the Pokes over the weekend. This is one that I know that his program has kind of been waiting on. This is one that you can really sell to recruits. This is a message that you can push in the offseason. This is a sign to the fan base that things are moving in the right direction and that they have the right guy. Not that they've ever doubted that, but a win like Saturday, 28-20 over Incarnate Word, is a very much a bright and shining star into the right direction for McNeese football and Frank Wilson. And we welcome him aboard just like we do every Tuesday morning here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Coach, good morning. Thank you for the time as always.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. 28-20 on Saturday in front of your faithful. I know that was a high point for your young program under your direction on Saturday, getting that win.
Yeah, you're talking about a top 15 program in FCS who we had not played well against, to be quite frank, Jordy. Last time they came to our place, 48-20, 20-plus, 28-point victory, and then we go there and fall woefully to them at their place. And here's what we told our team. There's no going around it, all right? If we want to contend for a conference championship, we got to go play these people, and we got to play to the best of our ability, all right? They're a top team in the country, a top team in our conference, and we wouldn't want it any other way, all right? There's no back doors. You got to go through the front door. And the way that our team played, man, was very inspirational. I thought they played with great conviction, with toughness at the end of the day, and was very fortunate to come out with a victory.
Isaiah Chambers named Defensive Player of the Week in the conference. Obviously, when we saw him in Baton Rouge, he got banged up early and didn't quite have the impact I know that he wanted to on a night like that, but it seems like he's playing really good football for you right now.
He did. He was lights out. We had 27 different opportunities that we had hits on the quarterback. As a team, we finished with 10 sacks on the day, limited them to 33 yards rushing. Just thought, and those were feats that we had not accomplished, and something that we really wanted to try to accomplish, to contain their run game, to contain their prolific quarterback. And so I thought we were able to do so, led by Isaiah Chambers, our linebacker. Cordell Williams from Karen Crow played lights out, I think double-digit in tackles, and was able to create 4 turnovers with 3 interceptions on the day. And I think that was the signature part of the game that allowed us to be in position to play as well as we did.
Is this a mile marker for you that you can look on and get down the road and kind of look back on and say, hey, look, on that Saturday in October when you defeated Incarnate Word, you really started to see the momentum shifting to the belief in the program and to where people are and the vision that you've been selling?
Yeah, you always want to make sure you keep you have a vision, you have a process to attain it, and you work extremely hard to reap the fruits of that labor. And it doesn't just come. It doesn't just happen overnight. And to keep the faith, it's going to happen. Just keep working. It's going to happen. Keep working. I think this is a step in the right direction. I think this shows that there are some harvests to reap here. This one coming up is a big one. It's a huge one for us. It's the biggest game of the year for us because it's the next one against the same type of opponent, a top 10 opponent in the country that now sits atop alone of our conference with no losses in conference play. But one that we played in a 5-point game, a 3-point game, and had opportunities and just fell short. And you can attribute that to them. They found a way to win the game when we came so ever close in the last 2 outings. And so we'll have to play good football. Frank Selfo and his staff does an outstanding job. A very, very talented football team. But we'll be ready. We'll work extremely hard in this week to prepare ourselves to play our best football.
Coach Frank Wilson and the Pokes travel down to Hammond this weekend as they fight Southeastern. You heard him talking about that matchup with Frank Selfo and the Lions. Coach, what makes them such a tough matchup?
That team, like the one we just played, have two. We're very fortunate in the Southland Conference. We have some prolific passers, some prolific quarterbacks. Cam Ward, who we just played, and the quarterback from Southeastern is as good as he is the FCS National Player of the Year. Big time arm, very talented. Their leading rusher stands all of 6'6", 6'7", a big man that's tough to bring down, that stands in the pocket with great composure, has awareness, and can make every throw. And he makes that team go in every direction. And so our ability to affect him in a game is what we'll be charged with. His ability to create has allowed Southeastern to be one of the top programs in the country. Of course, transferred from Arkansas, but by way of Lafayette. Very talented young man with some support around him. He has some skilled guys around him. They've done a great job recruiting. So it'll require our very best to play well.
Coach, your last time out was the 200th Southland Conference all-time win for the McNeese program. It was also a nice homecoming victory for the faithful. Can you talk about the history of McNeese, what you're selling, kind of the legacy of the McNeese football program? I think everybody is paying attention to it here locally and down in New Orleans because you are leading it, but it's a program that has a very storied past.
Yeah, the most successful program in Southland Conference history. 19 conference championships. Have been to the national championships on 2 different occasions. Have been in 19 different playoff opportunities as well. You know, the beautiful thing is, last week was homecoming, right? And so they're telling me we got some homecoming festives coaching on Thursday. After practice, we'll need you to do this, and so you move things around, you accommodate. But I had no idea. That this city would come out in the droves that it did. Jordy, we had a parade that was nothing short of a Mardi Gras parade. I was blown away. I did not know. I did not expect it because I wasn't told much. But, you know, you and your team is going to be on this float, Coach, and we'll have throws for you. All right. So I'm thinking there's going to be a block or two, and it was phenomenal. The passion, the love, the respect, the support you have for the people of Lake Charles and Calcasieu Parish and surrounding areas, it's second to none. I'll go on a limb and say 25,000 people at this parade.
Wow.
I mean, like that, yeah. Wow. I mean, it was like that. I was blown away. And we culminated it by coming back into our stadium for a pep rally that was packed to capacity. I got ready to speak, and I got chills. And I don't usually get choked up when speaking, but it was that impressive. And then you put things in perspective, and you look at the stadium in the skybox in the practice field, and you recognize it's the donors, it's the boosters, it's the blue collar people that work at the plants, in the oil field. Those are the people who built this place. The community built McNeese, not necessarily just state funding, but the community did, and it's a community-run university that thrives and holds its own and sits second to no one at the FCS level when it comes to facilities and resources and support. And that's just such a blessing. It's such an honor to be the head coach here. It's humbling. And a weekend like this past one put it in perspective. And it was important for us. When I spoke to the crowd, here's what I said. We're going to give you everything I got that we have, I promise you. We're going to compete our behinds off. We're going to play to win the game. I can't guarantee it. It's a very good football team, but we will not let you down. We're going to win the game. We'll be aggressive in all that we do in play calls and attention to detail and preparation, and we were. And our team played that way. Our coaching staff coached that way. And to give our fan base that victory, the 200th one in the Southland Conference, a milestone on homecoming against an opponent that we had not fared well against and were underdogs against. Yeah. The last outing, Jordy, was 31-0. So just think of the development of our football team. A 28-point loss and a 31-point loss, and you flip the script and go and beat that team. And so I do think we're trending in the right direction.
Good for the people of Southwest Louisiana and all the Cowboys fans to know that you got the right guy in place in Frank Wilson and incredible support to get out there. Can you talk about I know you're not making any excuses and just the challenges of turning around a spring football season like you did into a fall football season and not necessarily maybe, the success level or anything like that, just the challenges of doing that and kind of where you sit going into this big game on Saturday.
Yeah, that's where the depth part comes in, and we went into this game Saturday, when I did the pep rally deal with our fan base and Q&As with local media, we worried. We were out our starting tailback. We were out our backup tailback. And so we were on to the next guy. We were out our starting right tackle, our starting left tackle, our starting center. And our most prolific, one of our most prolific receivers. And first play of the game, the first series of the game, we lose our starting defensive tackle, all-conference nominee, Joy McNeely. And then in the second quarter, in the back end of the first quarter, our starting Mike linebacker get thrown out the game, ejected for targeting. Mm-hmm. So we got every reason at that point. That's not including, that's excluding all the others that are already out.
Right.
And so we jump on them. It's 21-0. There's some calls that were questionable, and so we gather the team and here's what we say to them: this is our day, and there's nothing no one can do to take it away from you. You've earned the right to be here. We're going to go get victory, no matter what. No matter what. We refuse to lose this game. We will win. And we just created that mindset. By any means, you dig deep, you bite on your chin, on your mouthpiece, and you strain to win. It'll require you to strain this entire game to win. That's it. And it don't matter. You can only control what you can. Yeah. What you can't control, you can't. Here's what you can do. You can take your face mask and put it right under his chin and knock the living heck out of him. That's what you can do. And that's who's going to win this game. All the air raid, that's fine. That's good. Take your chin, your helmet, and take your face mask and put it under his chin, and let's bloody him up. Let's go pick a fight.
I love that.
Frank Wilson, my God, I got.
Yeah, me
speaking of goosebumps, I got damn goosebumps right here, man.
Playing again today.
Shit, what time's this game kick off Saturday?
Coach, when you were here at LSU, I know you had part of your success was building relationships with high school athletes, and I know you and Leonard and Devin White and all those guys had a real tight, close-knit relationship. How cool is it for you that they're coming back? Big game on Sunday. They're going to come back. Are you going to go to the game? Are you going to watch it? How are you going to handle that?
All right, now tell me who's playing who.
I don't know if you heard, but there's a big game going on Sunday.
The Bucks are in town. Yeah, Bucks are in town.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'll watch it on television. I didn't know, guys. We down here fighting for our lives. I got to be honest with you. I'm an honest guy. I'm transparent, but I'm a fan of all the guys who play for us, I'm not a team guy. I don't have this team or that team. Wherever the players that we had impact on, that's who I root for. And so I'll be rooting for those guys. And, of course, Marcus Davenport's on the other sideline as well. Yep. So I'm rooting for Marcus as well. And I'd like to see both of them, all three of them, or however many total, play lights out. I just want to see them play lights out. And let the chips fall where they may.
Kevin Minner had a big game on Sunday as well for Tampa Bay. He is another guy that just keeps hanging around, making plays.
He just keeps making plays. So I talked to all of them, Jordy, right, for the Super Bowl. Talked to Devin, talked to Tyron, talked to Leonard, talked to Darryl, talked to Clyde. So I got them all for the Super Bowl. Because I was, of course, glued in and wanted so desperately to go. I couldn't get it to fit in. But what a moment that was for Tiger Nation, for Louisiana, with so many of those young men in that game. But yeah, they've done an outstanding job. Extremely proud of them.
Coach, it feels rattled off 2 in a row. And it feels like you've obviously had to deal with a bunch of, ancillary factors going into the season, almost both seasons, ever since you've been at McNeese when you got hit. You had to deal with sanctions and things like that. So you've been kind of put behind the 8 ball. Does it feel like this is the steadiest you've ever been at McNeese and you've kind of got this ship pointed in the direction you wanted it to go?
Yeah, you know what? So much of it is trying to consistency. It's flashed here and there, and what good programs do, what good teams do, they play well consistently. And so we're trying to find that groove, if you will, to go play this game next week, this Saturday, against a very talented team in Hammond. It's a tremendous charge for our staff, for our team. But I like our chances. I like our team. I like our mindset. And here's what we say to them: the game is won Monday through Friday. The game is not won on Saturdays. Don't ever let nobody tell you that. How we practice, our approach in this week's preparation is critical. This building was infested with players all yesterday, all Sunday in film sessions, the most that we've ever been. And so I think the buy-in is there greater than ever. The want to is there. And so we'll see. We'll get on the practice field again today and continue to stack days, one day at a time. We don't really ever talk about Saturdays. We talk about practice. How do we win this day? How we're the most dominant team in style of play, and how do we burst from the ball? How do we rally to the ball? How do we finish off a block? And how do we strain in practice? And those guys who are the exchange or the look team and building them up to recognize that the look they give us is everything. They're premium reps, and we got to get them. We got to have it. And if we're able to do that Monday through Friday, about Saturday, you kind of have a great feel of your team. If you're true to yourself, and we try to be true to ourselves. After every practice, the team comes together, and I go to each coordinator. I give my input, and I say to the team, "We've won this day," or "That wasn't it. That wasn't it." The good thing is we don't have to play the game today. We got to do better tomorrow. And we critique ourselves in practice, and we grade practice much harder than we grade the game. And if we become great in our preparation, then how you do anything is how you do everything, and it just transfers over into the game situation.
A breath of fresh air every week to hear the thoughts of Frank Wilson and hear his vision for the McNeese State football program, and to see where it is right here after a really nice win on Saturday and heading into Hammond, Louisiana, with a tilt versus Southeastern. 6 o'clock ESPN Plus will have it for you on Saturday afternoon as the Cowboys travel down to Hammond, Louisiana to take on Frank Selfo and Southeastern. We'll recap that game next Tuesday right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We appreciate the time as always, Coach. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you so much, my friend. Go Pokes!
Yes, sir. Go Pokes. There he is, Frank Wilson, checking in from Lake Charles this morning as biggest win under his watch on Saturday for McNeese as they beat Incarnate Word by 28-20. You heard him talk about getting out to that fast start, 21-0, getting the troops around and say, look, this is our day, fellas. Don't let anybody take this thing away from it. his motivation and his
I love
his,
that he didn't even know
his
the Saints
ability.
played the Bucks on Sunday. I love that, actually.
I do love that. I do love that because I mean, like that's like his kids playing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Leonard Fournette is as tight to Frank Wilson as anybody that has ever come through LSU through during that time. And as Coach Wilson said right there,
he's kind of got him rolling. He feels
he does
because
yeah,
it was so unsteady. I'm happy that he's finally got the kind of settled himself into the role because I know he can do it. And you hear the passion in his voice when he talks about it, and it's Tuesday.
Right. Edward Jones, remember our friend Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones can help you get set with all of your financial questions that you may have. Get in touch with Daniel. He's in Central Louisiana, and you can easily find him. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com is the website. His phone number is 225-261-8262, 225-261-8262. I was talking to Daniel last week, and he said he got a call from Houston, Texas, from somebody that was working within the plant industry and says, I hear Culotta talking all the time how you're an expert with helping out finances with people in the plant industry. So whether you're at Dow, BASF, Exxon, anywhere around here, or anywhere around the Gulf Coast, if you're in Texas, if you're over in Houston and you're a listener and you're looking for some financial help, let Daniel Newman help you. He is our financial advisor. He can help you out. It's been tremendous returns since we rolled over our 401k with Daniel and the crew over there. They're out in Central Louisiana. That is 13440 13. Offensive lineman is going to be out for the remainder of the season. How bad can it get for the Tigers up front as they'll be missing another key player going down the stretch here of this November schedule? We'll tell you who, we'll give you our reaction, and we'll talk to Wilson Alexander about 8 minutes from now and continue the LSU football discussion. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet on this Tuesday. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Welcome back here to a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live, presented by Go Chevrolet, GAUXChevrolet.com. Go Chevrolet, driving you every single day here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We appreciate all of your interaction, all of your support here. Frank Wilson was fantastic in that last segment. Remember, if you don't mind, hit that like and share for us, like button, comment on the post. That helps us out tremendously. Wilson Alexander is supposed to be stopping by here in a couple of minutes, but we heard from Ed Orgeron yesterday. Remember, anything you missed here on the Jordy Culotta Show, any interviews, Billy Napier was here last week. We had gotten a recap from Ben Mintz yesterday morning here on the Jordy Culotta Show from the Oxford weekend, from Ole Miss this past weekend. All of that is brought back to you by RMB Buildings, RMB Contractors, rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com. That is Rhett Bourgeois and the crew over at RMB Builders that brings back our podcast every single day. But Ed Orgeron was speaking to the media, and we'll talk to Wilson Alexander coming up here in a couple of minutes. Anthony Bradford, who has been at times a starting offensive lineman, a swing offensive lineman, has been the number one guy off the bench at times during the year. But yes, all in all, he has been somebody that LSU has counted on tremendously on that offensive line. Announced yesterday by Ed Orgeron that he's going to be out the rest of the season.
Not anymore. I can't anymore.
I don't know where you're going to find bodies at this point, really, if you lose anybody on that offensive line. I know I said this a couple of times, but they just don't have the luxury at that position to lose anybody, whether it's a starter or whether it's a walk-on.
Yeah.
You just don't have warm bodies where you can even go through practice right now, man. I mean, Bradford started at guard and tackle in this for LSU this season.
Anybody on the tuba? We got to go that route again. We got to start looking at the band members. See if we can find a warm body over there.
I mean, this is different than a power forward.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I mean, you're looking for a left tackle. Now I do anticipate that Cam Wire is going to be able to play, which, you know, hopefully that works out from just a personnel standpoint. But Chasen Hines has been out. Now Anthony Bradford gone for the season.
What really is your strategy if you're LSU football and Coach O? Do you start throwing out the young guys because they're
doing that,
right?
They're doing that, a necessity.
I know that
Bradford is a young guy. You know what I mean?
He really seemed very seasoned with the compliance department.
Yeah, right.
But I just don't understand where do you turn here? Is that you don't want to risk? I don't know. I mean, you got to start. I guess you want to get some of these guys reps for NFL looks that are probably looking to the draft, but then they're not doing anything that makes them put out good tape. So do you just try to get younger guys reps at every position? Because it seems like the season's pretty much been punted on.
It better have been, because it's going to get really bad.
Yeah.
Before it gets any better, and
we may lose to UL Monroe.
I mean, it could be a good game. You know what I mean? Like,
glad we're not playing McNeese.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there has
to be some sort of strategy. I'm saying, like, there's a way to find
but I mean,
silver lining, but I don't know what it is.
No,
if you don't have players, and if you don't have those youngsters to put out there, I don't know what the strategy is going to be. When you start talking about building towards the future for LSU, I would think that, like, they've been doing that.
Yeah.
They've been playing the guys that they've just had to play out of necessity because they don't have any other options. And a lot of those guys that they're playing are
young
future guys. But I will say this, and I agree I want to make sure and give credit to the person that made the comment here, and it's Kevin Harrell inside of the bunker. And make sure you like and share and comment on our post. We appreciate you being out there. And Kevin says this feels like Orgeron's more of an indictment on Orgeron. Mm-hmm. And I agree. And I think that from a football standpoint, from as the football program goes, this is his biggest crime, is the inability to manage the roster, because he's recruited at a very high level. And over the last 3 years, you're talking about top 5 classes, right? Guys that have come in here and made instant impacts. But when you look around at the roster management of those classes and where they are now, they are totally stripped. they're totally down in numbers and guys that can make him. I mean, if you looked at that Ole Miss sideline on Saturday, if you took a, kind of a 30,000 square foot view of that stadium of Vaught Hemingway on Saturday, if you just flew a drone over the top of it and got a point of view of looking down on both sidelines, I mean, you would have said the team in white can't play with that team, right? I mean, they don't have the guys. I mean, one sideline is all crunched together with players. The other one's spread out. You got helmets kind of going from the 25 or the 35 to the 35. On the other sideline, you just got a cluster of players standing behind the coach. It almost looks like like a 3A high school team.
2A versus 5A.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like very much like a lower classification high school team taking on it feels like West Monroe playing like Capital.
Yeah.
Where it's just like this doesn't make sense. They can't compete with this team. They just don't have the numbers. And LSU is running into a problem, an issue where they show up on Saturdays and they got like 55 guys. You know what I mean? And you're playing against a team that has 85 scholarship players on it, and you got 55 dudes that are dressed out, and some of them are walk-ons.
Yeah.
For Orgeron's crimes against the LSU football program, and we've detailed a lot of them, to me, the biggest injustice that he's done on the field is the mismanagement of the roster. Is whether it's not being able to get the guys, or you get the guys and you're not able to retain the guys.
Or develop the guys.
The development, I think, is it's too obvious.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Like that's such an obvious issue that is plaguing LSU right now. But when you just look at the management of the roster, the inability to get class after class after class and competition and just kind of feeding the program, it goes into that term that we talk about. Teams either rebuild or they reload. LSU was in a spot for about 20 years, 22 years, where they just reloaded. You rarely found yourself in a rebuild. They are in a total rehaul right now.
Yeah.
LSU football is about to go through a rehaul of coaches, personnel, roster, all of it. I mean, the ancillary parts of the program, to me, for the first time in almost 30 years, 35 years, are looking around and asking, what's the stability and where are we at? People that have been there forever. And I'm not going to put names out there, but I mean, if you look around, look in the media guide, look in the 1987 media guide, and look in the 2022 media guide, and a lot of the same people that are there, I would say, are probably, kind of looking around saying, I don't know if I'm going to make it past this one, because it needs a total reboot.
Yeah.
Really and truly. And for Orgeron's issues on the field, the one that will haunt him the most, or the one that will be talked about the most, is just the inability to manage a roster. And when you look at the offensive line, that is a great example. Look at the safeties. LSU football does not have a safety. When's the last time that LSU really didn't have a safety? You know what I mean? When's the last time LSU was struggling to find like 5 legitimate offensive linemen to throw out there? I mean, they're going to run into a problem here over the last month. If they lose one more player, seriously, if Chasen Hines can't go, and he's questionable, whether or not, what's his status going to be? If he can't go, I don't know who they're going to play.
How many do they have healthy? How many offensive linemen do they have healthy? 7?
I was going to say 8, but I mean, if I've got Hines in that mix, 7. 7 offensive linemen.
Maybe the strategy is to go back to like you were in high school and say everybody's got to play both ways. Your defensive tackle, you're playing offensive tackle.
I mean, I heard Orgeron say yesterday that Malik Neighbors could start at safety too. I don't know if you don't look at him and say, can you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got enough wide receivers.
Right.
You're a dog. You'll probably go back to playing wide receiver when the new guy gets here, but we just don't have a safety. Can you play that? You know what I mean? It just I think they're getting into those times at LSU. I mean, that's we're kind of making jokes and making light of it. I'm serious. They may have to go to people and say, we don't have a safety. Can you cross over?
I mean, now we're going back to, this is 2 years in a row where, and I know we had COVID and you said, oh, everybody left. This is 2 years in a row where you're getting to the end of the season. And actually, you're not really at the end of the season. You have a month left of the season. Like, you have a while to go. And you're still you're struggling to fill out a roster. Games. Yeah, this is the toughest part of the stretch of your schedule.
Against programs that want to skull drag you.
Yeah, they don't like you.
They want to do it so they can tell recruits in their living room, like, LSU.
Look how bad it's gotten.
We've embarrassed them the last 2 years. I mean, Alabama legitimately is playing for an option, in my opinion, for Saban to go into Quincy Wiggins' house, to go into Shaz Preston's living room and say, Alabama, has beaten LSU by 100 collectively over the last 2 years. Since Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase pulled out of LSU, Alabama has beat them by 100. No shit. 100. You know what I mean? Like, they are going to try and beat LSU like a drum this year. I mean, it almost felt like they felt sorry for them last season in Tiger Stadium, where they kind of pumped the brakes and pulled off. You're not going to get that 2 years in a row. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you at all. They may not have done that in 2020, but that thing could have been a lot worse than it was last season. And this year, I don't think they apologize for anything.
55-17 last year, there's a 100% chance that they can hang 100. They could go 45, and then you still get to 100. And
they're going to put up 50
They're going
to
put up 50 points. Yeah, it's going to be whatever LSU scores.
And the reason why they're going to put up 50 points is because
they can.
Because they can, and because of everything Jordy just said. I mean, Alabama already has the leg up in recruiting, but if they can put their foot right in your throat and say, you know what, we're gonna end this thing. We're gonna take all doubt out of recruits' minds. They're gonna do it.
It's a scary scenario for LSU right now.
A&M's in the same boat.
Oh yeah.
Where
Arkansas,
but after I highlight A&M because not only the Jimbo Fisher situation, we probably need to mention Jimmy Sexton and James Franklin here at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, what LSU did with the Joe Burrow and how they just got trounced in 2019, and LSU didn't really let up after the 2018 game where there were 7 overtimes. Like, there's animosity there.
Yeah.
And I think that would be even they have no reason to call the dogs off, and I don't know if LSU can really hang regardless. I know Alabama seems to be a tier above, even though they lost to A&M. But I feel like A&M's going to circle that game and be like,
no doubt,
we made some cups about this thing. Let's go. Like, they're going to step on their necks.
And I know we're in the moment and we're talking about it, but you know what? For the rest of the year, I'm just gonna start looking ahead. I mean, you know what? Better times are coming. I'm checked out. I'm over it. Like, I'm gonna talk about it. We're gonna
Florida
say
happen.
I'm happy it happened. That was the first game I got to watch all year. I'm just happy at least I got to see that.
I mean, Dan Mullen's got to be saying, what?
Dan Mullen's in the hot seat now.
Got to be because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't beat this guy. You can't beat this program that is just lost right now. I'm with you, Mikey, in the sense that you look towards the future and you really just say, hey, look, man, I'm ready for whatever is next. But I am very apprehensive about how much damage can you really do? Like, when is enough for the administration? They have to be sitting and looking at the state of this program right now and the direction it's heading in and say, how deep does it get buried? How much do you have to unlife that, bring this thing back to life when you bring the next guy in? Because, I mean, I heard Orgeron talking about, like, his recruiting strategy yesterday, like him and coaches are going out on the road and going to games. Like, huh? Like, how is that going to work? How are you going to answer anything that a parent has about the legitimacy of the future of LSU? Yeah, I mean, you can tell them, hey, I'm from Louisiana. I've been the coach at LSU. It makes a ton of sense for your kid to go here if he's from. Well, what are you going to do when he gets there? I don't know.
I'm not
going to be here. You know, I mean, I don't know. Well, who's going to be there?
Can't tell you that either.
I don't know. You know, I mean, at what point does the amount of damage that is being done now, you look at just the future return of what could be, and you have to manage the present more than just say, hey, get us to the finish line. The strategy of get us to the finish line from LSU standpoint is so dangerous right now, just because of the possibility of how much damage can you do.
Man, at this point, you're not even limping to the finish line.
No,
you're not even crawling. You are literally getting
You're
dragged.
on life support.
You're getting dragged to the finish line.
DFL.
I mean, like you DOA, dead on arrival. You know what I mean? Like
I'm hoping we make it to the finish line. I'm hoping he gets there before it just explodes.
He has to finish the year, right? We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but you can't.
Does he?
If you're Woodward, you can't go back and be like,
think that.
Actually,
you think that.
Get out of here.
You think that, but like, does he? Woodward take over the head coaching job. Just go take over. You be the head coach for the last 4 weeks.
You mentioned how one of the biggest indictments on O was the lack of development and where they are on the roster wise, but look at how the staff is built.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like there's the fact that you have no one that you could even turn to and be like, can you wear this? Like, no.
I mean, I guess the only one you would be able to do, would be the only if you had to would be Corey Raymond because he's been there the longest.
And you're really gonna have to like talk him into doing that.
And I think they've tried that with a multiple people that all said, I don't really want that job right now. Because what good does it do them?
No, I mean
nothing.
Right.
You know, I mean, it does you more harm than it does good. I mean, that on your resume, the last month of LSU's football season in 2021 is going to look bad on whoever's resume is leading the program. It's just going to look bad from a number standpoint, score standpoint, scheduling standpoint. You know, there's just nothing that you can spin on it. And you have got to start spreading and selling this message to future recruits on what it's going to be. I got to imagine that Scott Woodward is fielding those calls.
I'm hoping what's going on right now makes the coaching search move faster.
Yes.
Like hire the coach before hire the coach before the Bama weekend. Who cares? I don't know. Like that's not going to happen, but what I'm saying is like hire the coach early so that now you have something
to look forward to
and something to sell these recruits because we just talked about how much of an issue our roster is, and if you lose all these guys in one of the biggest recruiting years in the history of Louisiana high school football, then your roster doesn't get any better. It's just it's not good. It's an avalanche of issues, and I don't like it.
No, it's a scary scenario, and LSU is sitting kind of right in the middle of it, where you don't know what the action is going to be. You don't know what the fallout is going to be. You don't know how it's going to play out. So it's a very nerve-wracking, fragile time for people in and around LSU because you got no answers. And to have no answers right now as an SEC football program, one of the powerhouses of the SEC, is just scary to think about. And LSU is in some, they're in some waters right now that, forget being unnavigated. They've just been forbidden for a lot of programs. I mean, this feels like what Tennessee has gone through. It feels like what Florida State has gone through. It feels like what Miami has gone through. I mean, it's a battle of relevance. It's a battle of sustainability. It's a battle of being able to adapt. And LSU is being exploited right now for just a lot of mismanagement. And a lot of that falls at the feet of Ed Orgeron. And crazily enough, you're paying him $17 million just to walk away.
Not only to walk away, but to stay. Like, I mean, that's really the crux of the issue, isn't it? If it was easier to have gotten rid of him before at the time and be like, all right, you're fired from you could walk away.
You have your hands clean.
Yeah, you have to pay him $17 million not only to leave at the end of the year, but to finish the year out. And
continue to dig the hole.
Right, that's the real crux of the issue is because of what you don't want to end up like in Tennessee. You're terrified of what would happen if you let the man out in public and what he would say about LSU and what message he would spill. So we're having to ride this thing out if you're an LSU fan where this is as ugly as it's going to be, and it's going to be ugly for a long time. But it's got Woodward's mind like it could be worse, actually, if he wasn't here, which is wild to think about. If O was out there running rampant, doing the things that Woodward obviously has weighed these options. He said the better of the two is him staying here as interim head coach.
Yeah, and like we talked about yesterday, this is the worst case scenario when LSU looked at the scale of possibilities of 2021. The worst case scenario is happening for LSU football, where you had to make a move in season. You've got nobody on the staff that's either qualified or that you trust enough to take it from an interim standpoint. And I agree with you. I think people like Corey Raymond, would be very sensical. very sensible in the hire. But I just don't know how much he wants it. I don't know how much he wants that on his resume. I don't know how much you want to put up with that stuff. And well, he doesn't love LSU. No, he likes his career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so do you. You know what I mean? Just like you out there, you care about your career and you care about what the future may look like in it. You don't want to take over a sinking ship as the captain. Just to say, because I love my school. Well,
I love this boat.
Yeah, right. You got to be smart, man. I mean, and right now, LSU football has a stench around it and a feeling that they are fading deeper and deeper into the sea, where whoever is able to get the wheel next is going to have a hell of a trek to get it back right.
I mean, this is going to be our first losing season. If we don't win in a couple games, first since what, 1999?
Is that right?
I mean, Saban didn't have one.
No.
Les didn't have one.
No. I mean, 5-5 last year.
5-5, but that wasn't losing.
You held on. You held on for a 500. Yeah, I mean that would be the first time since '99 since you made a move. I mean since you made a move in season.
In season.
Yeah, I mean you fired Jerry DiNardo, you hire Hal Hunter as the interim, and then you move to Nick Saban, and from there you start the golden age of LSU football up to where we are right now.
And that brings me back to
Jimmy Sexton.
No, what we're doing now is like, I know it's all doom and gloom right now, and yes, it is. But if being the optimist that I am, and being the true diehard growing up LSU guy, like, we've been in a worse situation. We've been in 1999. It was way worse.
Yeah.
Whenever this situation happened, we're in a better spot. It doesn't look good. The optics don't look good. We are definitely, we're a sunk ship. I don't even think we're a sinking ship this year. We're a sunk ship. But we still have guys, and we still have talent. We still have guys here. We still have the SEC. We still have 2 years ago as being the top dog in the country. And you bring in the right guy, and you bring in a good coach, and hopefully you announce it in the next few weeks, 2-3 weeks, whenever it is, and that guy gets going with keeping these recruits here. And you come out next year and you say, hey, look, you're gonna play. You're a freshman.
Right.
You're going to come in. You want to play? You're going to play. And we're going to be good. And we're going to figure this out. And we're going to be okay. And you're going to be a big part of that. And I think that's how you sell these recruits.
Remember, we are brought to you daily by GoFlow IV. GoFlow IV Health and Wellness. You can find them online at goflowiv.com. Baton Rouge's premier medical spa specializing in IV hydration treatments with vitamin infusion. Check them out, goflowiv.com. Medical spa that is right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. They can help you with chronic dehydration, illness recovery, chronic illness, hangover cures, athletic performance. They take pride in knowing that you'll be seen by a highly educated and licensed medical professional. They are a health and wellness IV spa that focuses on the most efficient delivery of vitamins and medicines for a sense of overall health and wellness. Online at goflowiv.com. That is GEAUX, flowiv.com. goflowiv.com, right here on Jefferson Highway. Baton Rouge's premier medical spa specializing in IV hydration treatments with vitamin infusion. Lloyd tipped off to it a little bit in our last segment, or earlier this past segment. Jimmy Sexton is now representing James Franklin over at Penn State. Franklin must not have liked where he stood. Hey, James, beat Illinois before you hire a new agent. Before you start throwing your name into all the coaching ranks around the coaching searches around the country, take care of your own program, man. I mean, that was such a talking about that felt like Les Miles on Saturday. Watching that brand of football with Franklin and Bielema and 9 overtimes, and the final score was 20-18. And yes, they were still playing by 6 and 3. You know what I mean? You still got 6 points for a touch. I mean, it felt like they were playing by 1s and 2s. I mean, 20-18 in a 9 overtime game, and James Franklin's at the top of some of y'all's list for the next coach at LSU. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you out of your mind? I mean, the most impressive thing this guy's done ever is win 9 games twice at Vanderbilt without Jay Cutler. You know what I mean? Like, this is post Jay Cutler. I mean, he was winning games at Vanderbilt with a bunch of scholars.
That's actually very impressive.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The most impressive part about his resume is that he's won 9 games twice at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Jimmy Sexton thing for him is like, hey, Jimmy, I think I played my way out of these big jobs. Let me just get as much money from Penn State as I can get. Hey, come in here. Let's push me. Let's try to do this thing. Let's try to negotiate this deal so that I can be here forever and just make a bunch of money.
If you're power ranking coaches, which we obviously are doing for the LSU head coaching job, what's your 1, 2, 3? Because it changes weekly because of
I love this.
Because of how people view every week to week. Billy Napier looks great 2 weeks ago, and then wins ugly last week. So people are like, well, I really don't want Napier. But after the week before, they're like, oh, people were standing for Napier. James Franklin seemed like a good hire. He loses last week, and now he drops down the list.
I'll tell you this, I've never
the one
been
that
on,
stayed steady in my list at 1 is Lane Kiffin because he keeps on winning.
Yeah. You want to take this first? You want to go first?
You got it.
All right, my top 3 would be in order right now. Mine would be Lane Kiffin 1, Billy Napier 2, and Lincoln Riley 3. And I think that Lincoln Riley's name is kind of the maybe the Jay Johnson of this group. He's got a big buyout, and he is not represented by Jimmy Sexton. His agent is Bob Lamont. Is his agent's name out of Dallas, I believe. And Riley's name, to me, has been talked about enough, but not talked about at length, which makes me believe that his name is viable in this. Yeah. Billy Napier's name hasn't been mentioned at all.
Which I love that.
Which I kind of love, too. And Lane Kiffin, as I've always said throughout this entire process, if I was making this hire, if I was making this choice, he would be my guy just because of, look, man, I mean, he's got Ole Miss relevant right now. They're top 10 in the country, and their offense is always good, and you'll always have a quarterback. And for my money, I think that is worth the price of whatever you want to pay Lane Kiffin to come in here and get you right. He has never coached the type of talent that he could have. I mean, take that back. The USC roster might have been good, but it's nothing to what he could put together from a head coaching standpoint like he could at LSU. And he knows that. He knows that in his time at Alabama. He knows that in watching Saban build rosters. He knows that in recruiting Louisiana, that you don't have to travel too far outside of the state lines to build a championship contender year in, year out. So my top 3 would be Lane Kiffin 1, Billy Napier 2, and Lincoln Riley 3.
So I like that. I have actually that same 3 but different order. So I'm doing this based off of,
we're going week to week.
Right, but I'm also doing this based off of like what I think it realistically is going to happen, right? Like Lane Kiffin, if I had to go strictly off my heart, like I want him to be the guy. I don't think he's going to get it because of the stuff that goes along with him. So my top 3 would be Napier 1. I think it would be Lincoln Riley 2, and Lane Kiffin 3. Only because I just don't think Kiffin's going to get the job strictly because of what's going on with us now and the history of him.
I agree with that. I think that Lane Kiffin might have, his what happened in Knoxville last Saturday night, or not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, was a bad hit on Kiffin. It wasn't his fault, right? I mean, it wasn't all his fault, and that's just some of the cachet that brings along with Lane Kiffin, and I think that's what LSU is really trying to intently stay away from. I don't think that you can totally dodge that in college football because it's a public sport that is very well followed, and people are passionate about it, and people are going to, they're going to make scenes sometimes around college football programs and coaches. But the scene that happened in Knoxville around Kiffin last Saturday night was something that LSU probably looks at as something that they could avoid. Right. And I think that they're trying to do that in the next hire.
Not only is he doing it, I guess it's playing out publicly on the field, like you said, but they also have a film crew following him around this year, and they're putting out week-to-week documentaries on YouTube called The Season. Yeah. And so they're following Lane Kiffin around in Ole Miss. It's actually pretty good if you check it out on YouTube. So it gives you it's almost like a Hard Knock style thing, but it's a lot of, they're not too behind the scenes because of college football, and they don't want to get in their players' lives like that. But it's just a good look at how Lane Kiffin runs the program, and he certainly knows what he's doing. But the one for Tennessee game just dropped, so it takes 2 weeks to put it out, and they are fired up, man.
Yeah. Now, I will say this, and I'm not I'm not promoting him right now, but over these next 4 weeks, I want to see. I'm not promoting him right now, but over these next 4 weeks, Mel Tucker could get the
Absolutely.
job. You know, like over his schedule over the next 4 or 5 weeks, he goes ahead and like beats Ohio State, beats Michigan, beats Penn State, all these teams that he has to play, and they end up being the top team in the Big Ten. I think he plays his way into the job.
See, in my mind, I don't think that's how Woodward does hires. I think this is how we want to look at it. It's like, oh, who finishes the strongest will probably be the most likely candidate. I don't think he's even looking at what they're doing.
I don't think
he minds that Jim friggin' lost. I don't think that's what he's looking at. He's not going to let what you do to finish the year be the deciding factor in how he makes a hire.
I don't think it's the results that matter. No. I think it's how
the optics.
Yeah, how with the game, like what they do in the game. How does he manage the game? How does he get? Because hey, Michigan State's not as talented as Ohio State and is not as talented as some of these other schools. But how does this guy get his guys to compete? Are they sharp? Do they look good? Are they well disciplined? Like, I think all of that plays into it.
Tucker and the Spartans are 7-0 right now. They just come off of a bye week last weekend, and the next 4 games for them, next 5 games, look like this. And this is true. I agree with everything that was just said on this set. Over the next month and a half, over the next month, Mel Tucker's either going to coach himself in or out of this job. And I agree with Lloyd that Woodward is not looking at the outcome of the games. He's, like Mikey said, looking at a lot of the optics, the sideline demeanor, the discipline of the team, the overall run of the program. And Michigan State has, starting this weekend, they play Michigan this weekend in East Lansing. Then they travel to Purdue, who Purdue's having a really good year. Maryland after that on November 13th. And then November 20th, they play in the big house. They play at the Horseshoe. They play at the Horseshoe. They play Ohio State. And then they finish the season at home versus Penn State. So the next 5 games for Michigan State are Michigan this weekend, Purdue, Maryland, Ohio State, and Penn State.
So 4 out of 5, like three out of 5, like top 10 games. 4 out of 5 games that could go either way, basically. I mean, Purdue can upset them. I don't think Maryland's is gonna beat them, but you never know. I think you have the 3 big dogs, and then you have Purdue, who you said is playing pretty good.
Another thing to factor with Mel Tucker, and this is just me thinking, he's never stayed anywhere very long, so you haven't been able to see how he can recruit.
Right.
Because he's playing with other people's players at Michigan State. He's only been there. This is his first year. You don't know who he's really been able to bring in, because he's done this everywhere he's gone. He's obviously, and I don't blame you at all if you're looking for a bigger job and you can, if you can island hop like that and get the gig, do it. But that's a factor that you have to weigh in. Is because
he hasn't had an opportunity to build a program. He's never built a program. He's only inherited a program and then done well with it and left. And like, so yeah, I'm with you. You don't, and I'm not. He's not in my top 3. He's not my favorite to get the job. I'm just saying, if he goes undefeated or if he goes 11-1. and beats that gauntlet of a schedule, people are going to be yelling,
his stock will go up.
Yeah,
his stock will go up. I also agree that there is an emphasis on this job to make the hire before Thanksgiving because of the early signing period.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to have an emphasis on the timeline of bringing people in here because there's got to be some type of game plan for the 2022 recruiting class. There just has to be. I mean, Louisiana is too talented. This class is too good, and there's too many guys that are set to early enroll that if you don't at least have a presence in the LSU football office of, who the direction is and where you're going, I mean, that would be a huge, enormous setback and miss.
I have a question. Lincoln Riley gets the job. Let's say he gets the job.
Uh-huh.
Does Williams come with him?
I mean, kind of like a Jacob Berry.
Yep.
Spencer Rattler seems like he's going to hit the portal, so it might be you might get the lesser of the two.
No,
Would you take Lincoln Riley if he wants Spencer Rattler in tow? If
he's
you have
not
to have
taking
both?
Spencer Rattler.
No, he's not taking Rattler with him.
I'm just saying, would that be a like? No, you can't. If
Rattler wouldn't go.
If Lincoln Riley's like, I'm coming, but only if I can bring Rattler. I know he wouldn't do that, but that would almost be like a red flag for me.
Well, yeah, come on,
Rattler.
Spencer, but you can't beat out Nussmeier or maybe Walker Howard.
Right.
I mean.
I'm not saying, and look, because you bring Williams in, he plays for you, your red shirt Walker. Walker gets a year, whatever. But I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I mean,
imagine
it's got to be possible though.
Lincoln's the one that had to have recruited
he's the
him.
No
reason.
doubt about it.
He's the whole reason why he went there. And
No
not
doubt
here.
about it. I think that was probably the deciding factor on going to Oklahoma.
And we've seen very little of Caleb Williams. What we have seen seems very impressive. Do you think he would step in day one if he came with Lincoln Riley?
Yes.
And he would play? He would just
I mean,
take the job?
Caleb Williams
Who
feels
knows
like
the offense?
he feels like a number one pick type player.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like his skill set, especially in the way that football is played at the highest level now, where they run RPO. You know what I mean? Like they'll run the quarterback. You look at Caleb Williams, and people have to be like, "Good Lord!" I mean, he can do everything. He can run it. He can throw him. I mean, that's for his first carry against Texas. He went 70. You know what I mean? Even he's kind of like looking around, like, "Am I this good?"
He's waiting for the whistle to blow.
Yeah, right.
Practice.
I mean,
He's
like,
"Do I
never
keep
came out the
going?"
game. Stays there the rest of the time.
It's unbelievable. That would be amazing.
Just a hypothetical.
That would be amazing. But I got to imagine that if you're talking to Lincoln Riley, that I mean, just. I got to imagine that Jay Johnson was like, if you hire me, you potentially are getting the best third baseman in the country too.
I've already talked
You
to
know
him.
what I mean? Like, I just want you to know, like, my first recruit is going to be the consensus All-American, Jacob
Well,
Berry.
first
I want to
overall
go
pick.
talk to the janitorial staff at LSU and just bug Woodward's office. I just want to know what's
Yeah,
going on.
and
I just wanna know
see,
who
and
he's
like that's the
talking
deal
to.
too. And like I tell this to everybody, anybody who tells you that they know doesn't know.
Does not know.
They don't know. This is how Woodward operates. The first thing he did in cleaning up the LSU athletic administration was he found the leak and he made sure that he stopped the leak. And he let it be known that the business that's run in-house is always going to stay in-house. And he's almost not given a option to that because he works in so much silence and works in so much privacy that nobody really is going to know until this thing is announced.
Part of me wants to push the candidates that I don't want because I think the more popular the guy is with everyone else, and I don't know. I think he just wants to do. His decision's his. He wants to make the decision himself. He doesn't want the influence of he doesn't want the fans, and he's not going to do it just to please the fans. He's gonna make the decision based off who he thinks is the best.
Absolutely. And that's why this whole process, the only sense of good feels that you or I have, and at least trying to sell to the public, is that I believe wholeheartedly in Scott Woodward for this time, for this decision, for this process, for these candidates, for choosing the right person to run the LSU football program. I cannot say it enough on air or to anybody that I see that I just can't trust one person more than I trust Scott Woodward to make this choice.
And his history proves that. I mean, he has done nothing in his professional career in these decisions to make you doubt what he's going to do.
Yeah. Daily here, we are brought to you by Falaya Real Estate. Remember, get in touch with Falaya Real Estate by logging online to falaya.com. You can find out about the great offers that they have over there. Jordan Peck and I were over at Falaya last week in his office over at the Tech Park. You can see the way that their process has really opened up. They are about teaching and educating the seller, and they are doing that over at Falaya. For more information, visit falaya.com. Download the app today inside your Google and App Store, Google and Android store, if you want to get the latest over at Falaya. But if you're looking to sell your house this fall, this winter, or even into the spring, you got to think about Falaya. It's for sale by owner. That listing plans start at $399. You can sell your house by yourself and save thousands with Falaya. Online at falaya.com or download the app today. It's Barrett Blondo and his team over there. Get in touch with Blondo at 225-939-6153, 225-939-6153 for Falaya Real Estate, falaya.com, online, or download the app today as we talk about this LSU football job and all of you with your thoughts and opinions and choices. And like I said, I don't know if anybody is really truly going to know until about 48 hours within making that choice. We'll talk more about that obviously tomorrow on the show as we will get back to LSU football. But tonight, game 1 of the World Series from Minute Maid, as Houston is set to host the Atlanta Braves for the best-of-7 series. Houston, going into this one without their ace, is a small favorite in this matchup. you will get game one tonight. What do you anticipate?
Honestly, I like the Braves, man. I really do. I know they're at home. I mean, they're on the road, but Charlie Morton's on the mound for Atlanta. And Charlie Morton, he's postseason with the Rays, postseason with the Astros. He's a stud. He's a baller. I think he's going to good. Yeah, Valdez is pitching for the Astros. I know these names probably don't mean much to a lot of the casual fan, but Valdez had a really, really good ALCS, and he threw well. So it's gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be a fun game, but I'm gonna take the experience on the bump and Charlie Morton.
How big is Lance McCullers' story?
Huge.
That's
huge.
enormous,
He's
right?
an ace.
Yeah,
he's a number
our ace,
one. Justin Verlander has been out for 2 years. Tommy John last year, out all the year. So, that's your ace. He's gone. They traded, or Garrett Cole's a free agent in the offseason. So, all these guys that have been in the postseason with this team in the past are gone, right? And, so having McCullers as your number one and having the year that he had with the experience that he has and them not being in the World Series, I think that's a huge loss. Astros have a lot of experience. They've been here a lot. They've been, I think, was the World Series 3 of the last 5 years or something crazy.
Houston?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, they have the experience, I think, to make up for it. But anytime you lose your number one, that's a huge loss.
Poll question is up right now on YouTube and Twitter. Who do you like for the World Series? Make sure and cast your vote. We'll give you those poll results coming up tomorrow after game one. But Houston will be the backdrop tonight. Alex Bregman and the Stros will play host to the Atlanta. That's Dansby Swan. That's Bregman's draft. It was 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Yeah. It's crazy though because these are the two teams that I grew up watching.
Yeah,
that we all grew up
absolutely.
watching. You had TBS.
Yeah.
So you had the Braves were always on national TV, and then you had the regional games in Fox, which was the Astros.
This man is sleeping on WGN at 2:30 when you got home from school
The
and watched the
Chicago Cubs.
Oh, you're a Cubs guy,
man.
huh? You're a
Yes,
Cubs guy.
sir.
See, I was doing
Day
stuff.
games.
I had extracurricular activities after school. So
I
by
think
the time I got home, Cubs games were gone.
I think it was it was either a
had-
Cubs or Braves for this part of the country. You were either a fan, or even like the Astros, just because of the geographical reference.
Right.
I did notice when I lived in Lafayette those 2 years that the Astros coverage
are bigger, right.
is so much more.
It's only 3-hour drive.
It's
from
crazy
Lafayette.
how much they cover the Astros in Lafayette compared to just an hour down the road in a pretty big city who loves sports.
Right.
But I was like, wow, I didn't know how much one town could love the Astros like Lafayette did.
But growing up, the Braves were always they won the division. They were always in the postseason for I don't even know how many years, but they had
13 years in a row.
Chipper, Andrew Jones. Yeah. They had Maddox, all these guys, Smoltz. They're stupid good, and so that I just kind of fell in love with the Braves. Astros weren't really that good at the time. There were some good years, but they weren't as consistent.
Yeah, I think it's always been Braves and Louisiana, Braves Astros. That's been the consensus two teams. And like you said, the Braves probably won a lot of people's hearts because that lineup was so stacked. And they were
Jones.
Raphael Furcal. They were never able to get over the hump, but it seems like them being in the World Series this year kind of has a different feel because
they weren't supposed to be there.
They're not supposed to be there, and they're scorching hot. I'm interested to see what happens tonight.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Valdez, starting pitcher for Houston?
I know how well he pitched in the ALCS. He throws, I'm pretty sure he throws a lefty with sinker ballers. He has a really good changeup, nasty changeup. Probably throws low to mid 90s, maybe touches 6, but has a lot of downward action with his fastball. I'm using a lot of baseball terms. His fastball is a sinker basically, but it's a late sinker. It's tough to get up in the air, and I think that's why he had a lot of success with Boston because they hit a ton of homers. And he was kind of thrown under the zone a little bit with them, but. He's good, man. He was the guy. I want to say he's 27 or 28.
He's 27.
Yeah, and he was a guy that he wasn't a high guy from Dominican. He got signed for $20,000, something like that, and he was just one of those stories where they found him as kind of like a diamond in the rough, and he just worked his way up and made it. And he's done really, really well this year. So
Andrew Messina asked, Mikey, did you ever play against Jordan Alvarez?
I didn't. I have not. I played against him when he was a rookie, but he was he had. I want to say he was maybe hurt, but that guy's a freak, man. He can hit, dude. he's not just a homer guy. You know, he has crazy pop, but you know, he has a good feel for the strike zone. He hits the ball. I mean, as you saw in the last series, you know, he was driving balls off the left field wall and, you know, over the left field fence. So he can hit it everywhere.
Air Jordan.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what they call him over in Houston. All right, check out, remember, Relief Med over at RELEAFmed.com. As we told you, and as you know, medical marijuana in the state of Louisiana is now legal, whether you suffer from anything from arthritis to anxiety. If you have trouble sleeping or back pain, you probably will be recommended once you go through the Relief Med site. All you got to do is log on to RELEAFmed.com to go through your consultation. You'll have a doctor's appointment that you can either set up or take virtually right there online. If you answer the questions there, if you get the recommendation, you can pick it up right here locally. Remember, LSU and Southern are the grow spots for the medical marijuana in the state of Louisiana. All of it is very legal. All you have to do is jump online to reliefmed.com. Check it out today, and let them know you came from the Jordy Culotta Show.
For the World Series, both of these managers are very old school with Dusty Baker and who's your boy from Atlanta?
Snitker.
They're older guys.
Snitker's son. Is that where you're going with that?
I have a different question.
Hijack your story?
No. I have a different question, but I saw that too because everybody's blowing up about it. But go ahead.
Yeah,
about
Snitker's son is on the staff in Houston. So Snitker came out in his press conference and said, at least one of the Snitkers, we're going to have a World Series ring in the Snitker household. One of the Snitker households. Snitker.
Yeah, Snitker households.
Sorry, that's a little tongue twister.
But I was wondering how much analytics will play a factor because they're both set in their ways. Dusty Baker is not an analytics-driven guy, from what I know about him. I don't know anything about Snedeker, but he did it the old-school way. So I'm wondering if you're going to kind of see an old-school style of baseball game where you're not seeing double switches and starters coming out in the fourth, or if you just get to see good old-fashioned baseball. We lay a bunt down, maybe double steal, hitting runs and stuff like that, where you get to see just baseball that I grew up watching.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to see as many bunts, just because I don't think the teams are really structured that way. But yeah, I think that you're going to see if the starter's hot, he's going to let him ride. They're going to let him ride out a little longer. I think more so on the Astros side than the Braves side. I think the Braves may use a little bit more analytics because their bullpens is pretty good. But as far as Dusty and the Astros, I mean he said it in the last series. He had a starter going, I think, was it Valdez? Valdez threw in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
And he said, they asked him, like, hey, you know, what was your thought process on leaving him in, like, in this new age baseball with analytics and not wanting to face the line threes? He goes, if the guy's dealing, you let him deal.
Yeah.
And that was his comment. And I
That's
love
the feel,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That's the feel. That's you take the analytics out of it.
Yep.
How much does a manager have on this part of the year? How much influence?
This is where the manager makes their money.
Is this where you earn it? Yeah.
Because the manager, the hardest job for a manager is managing the bullpen. And that's what the postseason's about, is pitching and bullpen, right? So, like, you can hit, but if you can manage the bullpen the right way and you get the matchups the right way and you take guys out when they're supposed to come out or you put them in when they're supposed to come in, like, that's when you make your money and that's when you win games. That's all. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do.
And so, like, these older guys, the Dusty Bakers of the world, do they have more respect inside the locker room, inside the clubhouse during a time like this?
Yeah, so like the experience helps. I think the players love Dusty. It seems like they love Dusty.
They really do.
Even with the gloves and the mask and the wristband.
I mean, bro, he is.
I don't know what's going on over there.
He looks like a creative player.
I mean, just his parts. I mean, everything that comes with him, bro. It's like, I mean, just all right, man. I'm here for all of it.
It seems that they like him. I know the players in Atlanta like Snitker, so yeah, I mean, I think some of that experience gives him some credibility, but I think, you know, you don't want to be an old school manager that comes in, you're all that crusty old school guy who, like, oh, back in my day, like
Tony La Russa.
Tony La Russa.
I wasn't in the clubhouse with Tony, so I don't know. But
Mikey's not gonna put his name on that.
But yeah, so it's like, I think Dusty's done a pretty good job of, like, managing, like, the old school style with the new age baseball. But yeah, I think if push comes to shove, he's going to use his instincts and his eyeballs and say, you know what, this guy's absolutely dealing. I'm just going to let him deal. Or he's not dealing. I'm going to take him out.
And he doesn't have one, does he? Does Dusty?
No, he
Baker,
does. I think.
Does he? Because he was in the San Francisco series with Barry Bonds and them, and they got beat by
When
the
was
Angels.
Dusty's last year in San Francisco? Can you look that up?
I can.
But he wasn't. It was
his son's game.
that was
Whenever
the,
they had to pull him from the
that was
plate.
the Suns game, but it was also. I mean, the manager that was winning the titles was what's his name from San Diego,
Oh,
the
Bochy.
catcher, Bochy.
Bruce
Bruce Bochy.
That's right. Bochy was there. Yeah. So I don't know if because he didn't win one with Bonds.
He didn't win with Chicago with the Cubs.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
know
think
if
that he's
got one.
always kind of been and even like in Washington, I think that they got rid of him a year before they won the title with the Nationals. So I think that he's a baseball lifer, and I don't think
I'm
that.
impressed by your history right
Yeah,
there.
how you like
wow,
that, bro?
I'm impressed
Huh?
on that. Holy crap.
And look, no Google up or nothing.
I
bro.
was looking at the screen. I was like, wait, is he
No.
cheating? Like, no, this is off the top of his head.
Yes.
No World Series for Dusty.
No,
Wow.
here's a fun fact. You know how many career major league hits Dusty Baker has?
No.
People forget how good of a player he was.
He played in San Francisco with Bond Sr. and
I
Willie
think so.
Mays, right?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He has over 2,000 career hits.
Damn.
He was a great player.
Wow.
People forget about that.
1,981 hits.
No, you're lying.
Looking at it right now.
Okay, 1,980. Okay, just under 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I do like your sales. I
Yeah.
like your sales.
Yeah.
NLCS MVP.
You know that's probably Roger Cador's best friend.
Oh, really?
Southern University head coach. I mean, him
Wow.
and Dusty Baker are
Yeah,
tight.
tight.
Or former head coach at Southern. Good Tuesday here.
Do we know why he's wearing these gloves?
I think he's just
COVID, I think.
Yeah, I think he's overly protected on COVID. I mean, he's masked up.
But here's
He's-
my question with the
Yeah.
gloves. You have on the gloves. He has on the gloves. Like I understand, but like if you're wearing them the entire game and you're touching a whole
Right,
bunch, does
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
does that
And you're
defeat the
touching
purpose?
bats.
It
You're
just
touching-
becomes de facto hands at that
Right,
point.
right.
It's like Dickie Roberts. Have you ever seen the former child star? He has to wear the gloves in the movie David Spade. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
It's a little off the radar, little B-roll film, but he has that.
What?
That's a Lloyd Courtney movie. Right
It
there.
is.
Started at a young age. But he wears gloves because he doesn't want to physically touch anything. I didn't know if Dusty had like a I don't want to touch people type deal.
This is a completely off. This is talk to movies. Have you ever dressed up as MacGruber for Halloween?
No, but I'm getting a lot of MacGrubers
You need
lately.
you need to dress up as MacGruber for Halloween this year.
I've never seen it.
What?
Is it good?
Yes, I think that's right up your alley.
Yeah, just dumb humor.
Offended a bunch of people in the room. Do you dress up? Or you have a Halloween party?
We hosted a Halloween party last year, and it was
Whoa.
supposed to be an annual thing, but we have best dress on Friday, so we're not doing it this
Okay,
year. But
okay.
I think we're going
I'd
on
rather
our
the Halloween party there, bro.
prior engagement.
Yes.
We've committed. We've
Yes.
gotta go.
I'd imagine your neighborhood throws a pretty good Halloween party. I won't mention the
Yeah.
neighborhood, but it does.
It
It
does
seems like
well.
a pretty good Halloween spot.
Big black block. Big block party in the
Easy.
back. Big block party. in
Party
the
got
back.
wild last year.
There's your show.
Big block party in the back of the neighborhood.
Big
Yeah.
black corridors.
Somewhere Rohan was like,
Yeah.
"Somebody need me." Have a great Tuesday. We're brought to you by Go Chevrolet every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
What did you look up last night?
Oh, man.